Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a climate change. Oh, it's a real cold game. I feel it, climate change. The hood will never be the same. I said, I feel it, climate change.
One of the most important things that we know is art. That one's art is what dictates one's culture, and one's culture is what dictates one's liberation. And so we are to be liberated as a Black people here in these United States, Turtle Island, or in the world. We need to we must utilize our cultural expression to shape our political experience. And so with me, I have someone who we will be with coming up at the State of the Black World Conference. And that is the artist, that is the activist, that is Kim Poole. Kim, how you doing, my sister?
Greetings, Rev. It's so nice to be here with you this evening.
It is. So for folks who don't know, please tell us about yourself and the work that you do.
Well, first and foremost, I'm an artist, but I don't take that seriously. I believe that everybody's an artist. For us, in the Teaching Artists Institute, art is simply creation. Even ideas that you think, that inception of thought, that is creation in our worldview. And so innovation, ideation, this is the creativity that is the gift of the human race. And so all of us are artists when we allow ourselves to be. I think at some point in our trajectory, especially those of us that are well-read and studied, art is not taken as a serious craft. It's like, wait, you're an artist? You went to school and you chose art? You don't want to be an attorney or a doctor or somebody important. And so I find pleasure, great pleasure in reminding everybody that they are too an artist. But I do sing, so I might do a little bit more than the average. I'm a soul singer. And at some point in my journey, maybe 8 years ago, while touring on the continent of Africa, which is where my art form as a singer was most prominent, I created the Teaching Artists Institute. And so now we use the tool for social transformation, and we do that in 8 countries around the world, 6 of which are on the continent, but always in my hometown, in the DMV in Baltimore specifically. And in the U.S., we're in Ohio as well as North Carolina.
Talk about that real quick. What's the difference from Charm City, from the DMV, to the continent from an artist's perspective? What does it feel like? I know for me, when I have gone over to the continent, when I have been either from the top of Egypt to South Africa, I feel a way of being home. It feels amazing. It feels like a healing process. And I'm not an artist like that. But for you as an artist, I know artists are different. Artists hear things. They feel things. They are the pulse for our people in our community. So what does it mean what's the difference for you when you, and maybe there's no difference, but what's the difference between you from Charm City to the continent?
Well, before I respond, I got to stop you. I literally just said we're all artists. And you're like, yeah, I ain't an artist like that. But,
yeah, no, but I mean, don't stop. That's an important clarification. So let me explain. So I think you are right. So let me say, because folks are listening, they are like, man, Red, she just said to you that we are all artists, and you just took away. And it was somebody who was listening right now, was like, they was feeling good about themselves, and they were like, man, and Red just took that. No, so I'm not taking. If you listen, I'm not taking away. You listen. Kim Poole is right. We are all artists. I would just say, because I've heard many different types of artists, there are some artists I want to hear more than other artists.
And so, yes, the traditional arts help us to wield a vibration that taps into the spiritual realm and the metaphysical. So, yes, we have a unique place. But when we embrace the African worldview, we remember that art is everything and everybody all the time. And it gives everybody permission to tap into their inner source of creativity and how it manifests itself. Well, that may look different. It may not be music. It may be architecture, but that is an art. And it may be agriculture, right? Maybe you're putting the culture back into agriculture to help us eliminate these Monsantos and things, right? Reminding us of our connection to Mother Earth and no separation and between us and the soil and the air and, all those things. So it doesn't matter what your art is, but understanding the necessity of creativity, it gives you an opportunity to feel God-like, like when you create. It reminds you of your divinity. And so we have to learn to embrace our innovation and our ideas. Don't just let those ideas sleep. Like, wake up. Let those ideas be a part of your being. Take ownership of your creations and manifest them. That's what we want to give you permission to do. And so when you own your artistic self, it, makes us all better.
Right. I love that. And I actually, as you even further went deep into that, you're so right, because as an African, as someone who understands the healing and the creativity, you're right. When you're a doctor, if you're a sculptor, if you're a chef, if you're a sewer, whatever you may be, if you're a mother, father, you are so right in that. So talk about, and you kind of hit on it, so I won't come back to that as much, because I do want to think, because I want to get into, as you are doing this work, pretty much it's what's different as you're doing this work between Turtle Island and the continent.
Right. So that was your question. And I'll tell you, let's start from a really simple level. Like, I started going to Africa first as an artist. That's how I was invited. I call it the festival chitlin circuit, right? Going there, performing, being able to get paid to travel. I could have gone anywhere in the world. But for me, it ended up being Ghana and Nigeria and, Senegal. And for me, that was the most famous I ever felt. Going into a room, seeing stadiums full of people. They didn't care that I wasn't Beyonce. They didn't care that I wasn't Jill Scott. They like, listen, girl, you got it. You can sing. You from America. You must be famous because you all the way over here with us. And I feel like every artist in the traditional art forms should get a chance to feel that famous. As a Black girl, I can remember when I first started to perform in Nigeria, we went to VI and I was hot. At least that's what I felt based on the vibe and the energy in the club. Now, I'm not a clubber, right? I sing soul music, so I'm more like a lounge type sis. But in Lagos, in VI, we were at the party with the DJ, and he was one of the hottest DJs in town. And after my performance, he invited us to his after party, and I went. And, I'm a big girl on the bigger side. And guess what? I felt like the prettiest girl in that room. The attention that they gave me, they didn't see. Just like, listen, everybody here is a little thicker, whether it's in the hips or the top, everywhere. Like, we make them like you around here. And then on top of that, like the fact that I was dark, it's like, oh, you're not pretty to be a brown girl. You're just pretty to us. And you're from the U.S. We're just interested. And then we think you can sing too, you're talented. And I feel like every Black girl should get a chance to feel that pretty. And so for me, Africa just did it because I wasn't being compared to like a what they call racially ambiguous woman and say, oh, I wasn't pretty to be a big girl. I wasn't pretty to be a Black girl. I was just pretty. And my talented, it wasn't like, oh, you're talented considering that you're not Beyonce, or you're talented considering that you're not Jill Scott. You just sound good. And so it was nice not being compared. And that is what Africa did for me as an artist. It built my self-esteem. I came back to Baltimore like, listen, y'all ain't paying me enough. I'm going back to Nigeria. I'm going back to Ghana. They put me on their national stages. And so it increased from there. And I wanted more of that. But that's really from a basic level. And it kind of hit on a deeper level because of who I am and my experience with that very basic level. But on a spiritual level, I feel like there's a vibration on the continent that reminds you inherently of who you are, even when you don't know it. You relax in ways you don't even know that you're unrelaxed. You don't even know you're stressed in some ways. We experience constant, continual fight or flight in this country by its design, not only historically, because of our post-traumatic slave syndrome and all these things that we're dealing with because of the trauma that our people have experienced here, but now the mechanism that we live in now, like the concrete jungles, the just lack of normal vibration, it stresses us even when we don't acknowledge it, and it weighs on us physiologically. And when you're on a continent, you begin to unpack that because you're relaxed and you don't know why. At first, you're wondering why things are so slow. You're like, don't y'all want to go to work? What's going on around here? Something is wrong. But then your body takes over and then you begin to relax. And I feel like that is what Africa did for my art form on a very basic level as a performing artist, but then as a creator, it allowed me to vibrate at a higher frequency.
Wow. So I think that's an amazing segue. For those listening, we're talking with Kim Poole, artist, activist, just an amazing person who is a part of an amazing conference that we are also part of, a Hip Hop Caucus, and that is the State of the Black Conference. And Kim, why is the State of the Black Conference, why is it important? And talk a little bit about just the State of the Black World Conference and how, what are you hoping to get from this, and when and where, all that good stuff, and what are you hoping to get from the experience?
So the State of the Black World, us taking the pulse of global African people, the need for our continual unity and solidarity, just reminding us that it's bigger than DC, it's bigger than Baltimore. You are connected to something bigger than yourself. And we, even though in different areas, we have similar problems, similar trauma, that we are different manifestations of the same tragedy. And also, as a result, we are different forms of strength because of our ability to survive that tragedy. And so we need to bring together our collective resources and manifest institutions that support us. That is what the State of the Black World is. It's an opportunity for us to have that discussion on a continual basis, to connect, because us connecting on a theoretical level is like, oh yeah, I know my brothers and sisters in the UK. Like, I just spoke at the National Action Network here in New York, and there was I forget his name, but he's the barista in London, a Black man. And their problems were the same. There was a woman on the stage from Guyana in Parliament. Their problems were the same. And so, but the question is how they showed up to address those issues were slightly different based on the flavoring, right? A little bit of spice. I don't know what they have over there in London, but they, in terms of their ability to address the issues that face them, they're working it out. And so I feel like when we connect all of our strengths as a result of our ability to survive the trauma, because that's what we've done, I feel like it makes us better. And that's what the State of the Black World is. And for once, it's in my city. They do everything in DC.
Hey, y'all, this is Rev Yearwood, and you are listening to Climate Friday right here on WPFW 89.3 FM in Washington, D.C.
Come with me on a journey. I was once in a hurry, now I'm moving slow. Come with me on a journey. I was once in a hurry, now I'm moving slow. This life I'm making in my own, I'm
So, Kim, for folks who don't know, what is the State of the Black World Conference?
So again, it's an opportunity for us to share best practices by us, for us. So many people have showed up to the tables programming us to death around the world, but we know what we need. Black mothers will always find a way to feed Black children. Our teachers, when given the opportunity without the systems that keep them in this test for grades, and they know how to teach our children when they're given a chance to. It's the same thing in every region around the world. We've all collectively survived from the same trauma, from the same colonial issues and the same Eurocentric value systems that we've been forced to adopt. And our ability to survive those systems is something that we should collectively celebrate, because even that celebration is a vibration that gives us the strength to go back into our various regions. And, it's like a breath of fresh air to be in the company of your brothers and sisters doing this work. Sometimes you easily feel like, man, it's just me out here. It's just me against the world. I'm just out here doing it. That gets tiring. But to know that, there's a small organization. Maybe they don't have the capacity that I do. I think about how Dr. Ron Daniels brought me together with the Hip Hop Caucus. I mean, you guys are a really big deal. And though we work in 8 countries, God has just been doing this for so long. The tenacity that it takes, the infrastructure that it takes to do this for that long. We're only 8 years in the game, and he brought us together. It's like, yes, salute.
That's right.
Out here doing this work on the front lines just like us. It's nice to network and to find out who your allies are, because you see them show up at the tables doing the work. And then for once it's in Baltimore. They do everything in D.C. They skip right over Chocolate City. I say Charm City. Some people say Chocolate City. They say D.C. Chocolate City. I'm like, dang, have they been to Baltimore? If we Black, I'm Black, y'all, because I'm Blackity Black. We the blackest city if I ever been to one. We're a little blue collar though, so they always take major events over to DC because it's just, a little more fancy, a little more legitimate. So I appreciate the State of the Black World and the Institute for bringing this meetup of the Black mind to my city. So I had to run to the front of that table and volunteer.
Let's talk about that. But first, I want to give a shout out here to Dr. Ron Daniels. If you don't know Dr. Ron Daniels, that you need to get a quick lesson on your civil rights and Black history. Dr. Ron Daniels has been in the movement since the beginning, as when right there were Reverend Jesse Jackson and so many others was there in Gary, Indiana, when they had the Black conferences back then, back in, I believe, 69 and 70, but was one of the key political minds in our movement. And me personally, when as many of you know, in my work from when I was in my home state of Louisiana, when we were fighting for people to come back home after Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, there were folks, unfortunately, didn't like how we were moving. Unfortunately, they threatened my life and Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney's life and all kind of craziness. But it was Dr. Ron Daniels and many, many others who stood with us and marched with us back in New Orleans. So I never will forget that, and I so appreciate that. So with that being said, I want to make sure that, you check out the State of the Black World Conference. It is in Baltimore, as Kim said. It's happening at the Baltimore Convention Center and also at the Hilton at the Inner Harbor Hotel in Baltimore, Maryland. And the theme is Global Africans Rising, Empowerment, Reparations, and Healing. It takes place between April 19th through the 23rd. And if you just go to IBW21.org, that's one. I think there's other websites you can go to. But if you go there, you can find more information. That's at IBW21.org, or just Google State of the Black World Conference. But they got some amazing folks going to be there. You're hearing one of them right now. Kim Poole is going to be there, and she's in line with the Hip Hop Caucus. The Hip Hop Caucus is going to be there. But also the Prime Minister of Grenada will speak at the State of the Black World Conference, as well as the former Jamaica Prime Minister will call for transformation of post-colonial societies. And there will be the Prime Minister of Barbados will attend the global conference in Baltimore. So this is something that you do not want to miss. You want to make sure and be a part of the State of the Black World Conference. Kim, let me ask you a question. When you were talking recently on Vantage Point Radio Show with Dr. Ron Daniels, you tell us about the role that hip hop plays in the Black Friday struggle.
Wow, that's a you question, Rev. Leader, founder of the Hip Hop Caucus.
Well, you
want me to talk about hip hop? Listen, what I'll tell you is that maybe that's a part of the beauty of hip hop. Like, it is beyond just the actual MCs and the DJs and the break dancers and the graffiti artists. Hip hop was a culture of artivism for young people, and it was like the child of bebop and jazz and, the blues, that they grew up and they realized that they too had a voice, and they interpreted that into a movement. And so when you talk about hip hop alongside the struggle for Black liberation, I really think you're talking about how we have responded to this system's oppression of our communities, and how the young people said, listen, we see you. We understand, and we aren't afraid to use this microphone to address you. We will hold you accountable. And I think the freedom of expression, being able to show up and say how we feel, I think it was also a balm of healing in the midst of oppression. The ability to safeguard your mental health by speaking on how you feel. We don't know how powerful vibration is, and words that you say are vibration. And, I'm a Christian, and I read the Bible, and some people take certain things literally, but there is a literal piece when God spoke and said, let that be life. He brought the world into existence through the vibration of his voice. And the young people in the hip hop movement, especially the MCs, they were shifting the atmosphere with the lyrics that they spoke. And I think that's really the fifth element. We say the fifth element is knowledge, but knowledge of vibration, your ability to shape the environment with what you say, to speak life into something or speak death into something. And at a time when this system was attacking us, criminalizing our young people the same way they do today, we spoke back against them as a movement, and we spoke life into our own communities. That was a part of how we survived. And so hip hop was the continuation. They separate, the Black Power movement and the Civil Rights movement, and they say that these are all movements. But I think it is a continuation of the same vibration and energy, one generation at a time.
Listen, I could have said it better myself now, Kim. Let me tell you something. Let me say you did. Listen, you did all right there. You know what I mean? And I just could say facts and all of that. And I want to thank you for how you put that. For somebody who has been in hip hop, you for a long time. I don't want to try to date myself, but I've been in here. If hip hop turns 50 this year, I've been in it for half of that.
Wow.
And so that'll give folks an idea of my time within the culture and doing, hip hop politics. And I think everything you said was so important. I think the most important thing right now is that hip hop understands its power at this moment. The one thing that we realize, either here, if you're in Baltimore or Washington, D.C., or you're on the continent or you're in the Caribbean, the one thing that we realize, that which is a little different from our parents' generation, is that while we are definitely still fighting for equality, without a doubt.
I'm not fighting for equality. I don't want to be equal to none of this.
No doubt. No, but we definitely are not fighting. We actually fighting for existence. And many, and that's the thing, and and what you just said is the difference. That is the shift. That our parents fought for that, and we not. We fighting for something a little different, and we fighting for liberation, and that's a little different. We're not fighting to be part of. We want to be. We want to be free from all this. So that's the key thing there. So I want to ask you. So we know the thing is next week. We want people to attend. Talk about the panels and the pieces that we're working on here together. And also make sure tell folk about your organization and where they can find it so they can support it in that aspect as well.
Oh, thank you, because we definitely need support. I appreciate the plug, and I'll tell everybody just how they can do that. But as far as the conference itself is concerned, we are laser focused on the Hip Hop Summit. And so exploring hip hop in all its forms, celebrating the 50th anniversary. Everybody knows August 11th, 1973 in the Bronx. That is supposedly when hip hop came to be, but I mean, I'll take that. And so we're going to break hip hop down into 3 different sessions and 1 luncheon. So the first session is deep roots and rhythms. We're going to the origins. We want to understand the connection between what has been and what is now. And so that means looking at rhythm in its origin from the continent, different cadences, understanding the utility of artists. Art was never what we see in the commercialized form where all you do is perform and, that is what we hire. You are the entertainment, the relief. Artists in the African worldview were always a part of community utility. The griot or the storyteller in the African village, they weren't just a storyteller. They held the history of the village. They were meant to educate the young people and make sure they understood their identity. And so the role of the griot, or should I say the MC in the African village, was holistic. And so when you think about the drummer, we all love that beat, right, on the track. But the drummer in the African village, they were a communication system. They reminded us of our connection to the ancestral realm. They played certain cadence when babies were born and when elders transitioned into ancestral, or if there was a war. They said, listen, get ready. It's that time. And they played a different cadence for that. And so the artists in the community were a part of its function, and they reminded the people of the agenda and their goal for preservation. And so now we find that art has been detached from our community function as Black people. And that includes the current state of hip hop in many cases. It's like, I want to use you for entertainment purposes only. And so we look at the origins of hip hop and the writings on the wall, from hieroglyphs to graffiti, right? And so we have elders that are coming in. They're even going to let you make a drum. And so they're going to bring the materials to do that. We're going to have an exhibition of different drums throughout our history, and you'll have a chance to feel and touch and play in your leisure. After that, we're going to look at what's happening in hip hop now, youth and hip hop and social transformation. And so we have Maurice Taylor out of Massachusetts with the Hip Hop Congress coming down to talk about his work. He said that he was addicted, and the substance abuse that he emancipated himself from, the hip hop that he loved was perpetuating that. And so he created a space where he could have a party without alcohol. He could do music and MCing without alcohol and whatever other substance he emancipated himself from. And he now calls it poetic recovery. And so we're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about Minister Server out of Atlanta, Georgia. He's actually been to the conference before, and he's coming again. It's nice that he's been able to grow up with the conference in that way. And so he's got Hip Hop Ministries, and he's going to talk about his declaration of peace, and they've advocated for that at the United Nations and using hip hop as a tool for peace building around the world. Then we have a sister, Faustine Amara out of Detroit. She's doing a series called Hip Hop in the Park. She's been doing that. I mean, they've had LA and New York, and Toledo is where it'll be this year. They've also done Detroit, where she's from. And she also took that movement to Senegal. So now she's engaged in the African, I think it was Chuck D that said, where is hip hop going? Is going to Africa, and he's right.
That's right.
During that session, we're going to be highlighting hip hop artists from across the continent, those that couldn't get visas with sent in video submissions, and those that will be with us, like Bobby Wine out of Uganda, who's a hip hop artist turned elected official turned advocate against the system that he believes is oppressive to him, with Museveni currently in office since before we've been alive, most of us, at the discussion. He'll be there. And so we'll have a conversation about hip hop in Africa. And then we're going to talk about Earth Day, because, Saturday next week is Earth Day. And that is the future. That's the future of hip hop. Every hip hop artist, every artist should be concerned with the promotion and protection of Mother Earth, because air is a everybody. Water is a everybody. And in our communities, we have been given the worst quality of water. I think about Flint, Michigan. I think about Baltimore, where the conference will be held. And I think about the food deserts and all of the ways that our environment that we love and need so much has been used as a tool against us. And so we're going to talk about that, and we're recording a live on the scene audience included advocacy campaign. And so we have videographer Vinny Imwano from the Congo that's going to be helping us to put that piece together. And we also have Baba Jim Embry out of Louisville and Lexington, Kentucky, with Ujama or Ujama, depending on where you're from, seeds. And he's going to do seed distribution of those heirloom seeds that we need. Our people need to get reconnected to Mother Earth, and it just makes sense that we do. And so hip hop artists need to be the campaign of promotion for that. And so that's what our last session is going to be about. But we're still going to have lunch, and during lunch we're calling it the Global Grassroots Caucus, and we have an incredible lineup. We've got new countries like the Kingdom of Kush. They're coming to talk about their development. They're below Egypt and above Sudan. Their Minister of Education will be with us. We have Dr. Beryl Beekman, the International Decade for People of African Descent. She will be with us from the Netherlands. We have Demba Haidara out of the Gambia. Brother Cliff right there in Baltimore. I'll consider him from Pan Africa. And the moderator will be the president of our organization, Teaching Artists Institute, Mr. Haki Ami. So it's an incredible day. I encourage anybody that can to join us. I won't be saying much, but I'll be a cheerleader on the side, like, get it, y'all, get it, y'all. So I look forward to passing out the T-shirts. We printed up some swag. I call it memorabilia because it's going to acknowledge the 50th anniversary, and so it's going to be a fun day.
Amazing. Well, you heard it right here, and she's so gracious. She still didn't say what her organization, how to contact. See that? I got to make sure. I want to make sure that we support Kim and her organization. So please, Kim, make sure to give them the website and how they can support the work that you guys are doing.
Absolutely. So again, I'm Kim Poole. I'm with the Teaching Artists Institute. Please find us on Facebook. I'm so bad with social media. Facebook.com/teaching artists. No S. Teaching Artists. One word. Please like us. We can start there. We have initiatives around the world. One of the ways that we sustain our work, we do tourism and hospitality management. We own properties on the continent. Please stay with us. If you've never been, please come with us on a journey and connect to Mother Earth, connect to the motherland. If you don't want to get a passport and not ready to go quite yet, you can stay with us here. We have the Freedom Rides Tour, June 11th through the 17th. We're going through 10 states in the South, taking history off the page. We do camping trips with young people. We do living history reenactments to show them that what happened then is still relevant now. And so we're competing with TikTok and all kinds of Instagram. So give us an opportunity. Send us your babies. Like what we say, Geppetto or the ghetto. I'm not going to be no rapper today, but it just happened to rhyme. So I'm just saying, send us your babies. We want to work with the young people. We do that in each of the states that we're here in the U.S. and across the continent. And so we want to facilitate intergenerational dialogue on our Freedom Rides and in all of our initiatives. So we want to work with the elders and we want to work with the young people and build that bridge. We want to be the bridge between the U.S. and global African people, especially those on the continent that are African-centered. And so we use art as a tool to do that. Follow us on Facebook so that you can stay connected. Again, that's facebook.com/teacherartist.
And that is Kim Poole, who you will see with us next week. Please come out and support the State of the Black World Conference in Baltimore. We need all of D.C. and all the DMV to get on 95 north and come on up to Baltimore and be a part of the State of the Black World Conference. It will be it'll be from April 19th to 23rd. And this Hip Hop Summit at the State of the Black World Conference will be amazing. My dear sister, Kim Poole, thank you so much for what you're doing for our people here and around the world. You are a blessing. Thank you.
All right. Bless up, King.